Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Bold and Unafraid podcast. I am Anastasia Halcomb, your host and the creator of the Bold and Unafraid, and I decided to just really drive this point home, the title of this podcast home. I decided to just, rip the Band-Aid off and do the unthinkable and just go live. So here we are, going live for my very first episode of my podcast. And you know what? It's not quite as scary as maybe I had made it up to be in my head. All right. But to get started, I just kind of wanted to cover a couple of main points so that you could kind of know a little bit about this podcast, why a podcast, why that's something I felt I wanted to create, what this space is going to provide, and what it's all going to be about. So it's really strange to just continue talking, I have to say, even though there's like no music. So this will be good. This is going to be good. I'm going to get all the kinks out and we'll be able to look back at this podcast a year from now and just be like, wow, look how much progress has been made. So start scared, right? That's a thing. And I just really have been sensing like now is the time. I have been talking about starting a podcast for probably 2 years now. Really seriously, I was like ready. I had my studio set up. I had an amazing studio, by the way. It was really awesome when I was living in South Korea. And I mean, the lights were on point, my camera, my audio, everything was just like dialed in. And I just really felt like it wasn't the time to start it. I actually just it was like taking everything in me not to just like move forward with it. But when I prayed about it and I just thought about it more, I just really sensed that it wasn't the time. And so now that I have moved, we have recently moved to Redding, California. My husband and I, he's gotten out of the military and transitioning into a new job. And now that we are in a brand new place and back in America, and in a place we kind of never thought we would live, I was like, hey, now's the time to start the podcast. Oh, isn't life funny? So instead of my big, beautiful, fully dialed in studio, not that you guys really even care, from before, now I am in a tiny closet that is being used as my podcast studio. It's a little closet under the stairs, but you know what? It's going to be a great space to create something. So I am really excited. I am a little bit nervous, a little bit scared, and so I thought that instead of allowing all those things to become excuses, that I would just start. So now is the time. Carpe diem, seize the moment, right? And I'm doing it. All right, so let's talk about what this podcast is going to be about. What is a space that I want to create for this platform? First of all, I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts like all the time. When I'm walking, exercising, taking the kids to school, when we're driving across country for my sister's wedding, whatever it is, I'm always listening to podcasts. And I love that podcasts provide a space for us to use our voice on a myriad of topics. And in today's day and age, especially like in America right now, there's so many people that I know and that I don't know that are like hindering their voice. And so I just felt like right now is the time to take off the proverbial mask that kind of COVID and then all the politics around COVID brought with it, and to take that off and to actually use our voice. So I wanted to be a pioneer in that and to say, it's time to use your voice. The world needs who you are meant to be. The world needs what it is that you have to offer. And you have been specifically created for such a time as this. So your voice and your story is crucial at this time. I think that we're about to see so many amazing people rise up and use their voice and tell their story. And I want to create the space within this podcast to give you a platform to do that, to give you permission to do that, to say, hey, I can be your friend. I can be a mama figure. I can be a sister to you and say, let's go. Let's do this. It's okay if you don't have it all figured out. It's okay if you don't know exactly what's going to come of it. It's okay if you don't feel ready, because I definitely didn't feel ready. But I definitely felt that now was the time. So I want to give you permission to use your voice, to talk about, oh gosh, I'm so excited, because I want to talk about things that people don't talk about. I want to talk about the taboo subjects, like politics. I want to talk about politics. I think it's very relevant to our life. And I think every person has a voice, and your voice matters. I want to talk about the things maybe we're scared to talk about, because the thing that you are the most scared to talk about might actually be the very thing you have been specifically created, called to do, to be a voice for a specific area. So that is kind of in a nutshell why I wanted to do a podcast and what this podcast is going to be about. I also am going to be doing some interviews and having you come on and share your story and using your voice. And I also want to just empower you that you have value. Oh my goodness, you have so much value. And I think in a post-COVID world, we've kind of gotten really comfortable with just blending into the background or into the wall and saying, okay, I'm going to let someone else speak to that. I'm going to do my part, right? All these things sound good and sound right, but I actually think it's time to make some noise. I think it's time for you to say, this is who I am, and this is what I love. And I think that we're going to see new inventions. We're going to see solutions to problems. We're going to see just people coming out of their shell, coming out of the proverbial closet, and just using their voice and being bold and unafraid, because you have all the permission and all the freedom to be you. And who you are is so important. And what you have to offer is exactly what the world needs right now. So I hope that with this podcast, that you will follow along with me on this journey of being bold and unafraid, and that in the process, you will find your voice, you will find your story, and you'll just get excited about being you in this world today. And you're not going to worry about if maybe the lighting's not perfect, and maybe your hair is not exactly on point, or whatever it is, that maybe those were the things that you worried about before in the past. But today, you're going to be bold and unafraid, and you're going to move forward. So, okay, I think I'm like going to refer to my notes here. This is probably not good with the sound, but I did write some notes. All right, so I believe that it is time to start to use your voice, to tell your story, to do it scared, to be bold and unafraid. And I also want to add in there, unapologetic. I really feel that the time for us being like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry about this, I'm sorry about that, worrying about stepping on people's toes. What if we didn't worry about that so much? Yes, we need to be kind and we need to be loving, but that doesn't mean that we have to completely apologize for who we are. I, for one, am no longer going to continue to apologize for who I am, for who I was created to be, for what I was destined to do in the world. And I hope that I will lead by example for you. Because maybe you've been feeling like you need to hinder your voice, or you need to apologize for who you are. Maybe you are scared that if you fully bring yourself to that thing that you've been thinking about, that you've been dreaming about, that maybe the little child in you, when you were a little girl or you were a little boy, like you used to dream about doing something. Maybe you were an inventor. Maybe you were a dreamer. Maybe you were an explorer. Maybe you liked to go and study bugs in the backyard. Maybe you're a little entrepreneur and you like to make perfume and sell it from your front stoop of your house when you were 8 years old. That was me. Whatever it was that you were as a little child is exactly who you are at your core still today. It's just that there's been a lot of other voices, society, parentals, family, and these can all be well-meaning, but there's only one you. There's someone famous and important, I don't know exactly who, so credit to whoever it was. I know it's been used since, but there's a saying that says, there's just be you because everyone else is already taken. And that's so applicable here. And it's something like so basic and almost like cliche in its saying that I think we just kind of discard it. But let that sink in for a minute. Like, that is powerful. Be you, because everybody else is already taken. There's only one you, and that is what is so amazing. Only you have the very specific talents and giftings and makeup that you have. And that is, I believe, because of what you have been created to bring to the world. And dream big. Like, don't hinder yourself. Don't go, oh, it needs to be small. With me starting this podcast, I already have dreams of other podcasts that I'm going to do. I already have dreams of platforms and spaces that I want to create. And I want to give you permission. I want to reach through your phone or however you're listening to this podcast or watching it. And I want to say, come with me. Let's go on this adventure together. Let's not be scared because there's nothing to be scared of. And I want to give you the freedom and the permission to fully be you. And hopefully as well as I'm learning and growing, that you can learn and grow along with me and you can get some practical tools on how to do that. So, to wrap all this up with a nice little bow, I am so excited to have a podcast where I am going to have you come in and share your story, tell your story, use your voice, but also that it's a space for me, to be fully me, to smash all the boxes. I had a friend say to me the other day, you're a category smasher. You don't fit in any of the little boxes. And I used to think that was such a bad thing about myself. And now I've realized, oh my gosh, it's one of my superpowers. I smash category boxes. And maybe you need someone in your life to smash some of those boxes that you have thought you had to put yourself into, or that the world told you had to live within. You don't have to. You can be fully you, bold and unafraid. So thank you for letting me come on and share my story a little bit and my heart for what I want to do with this podcast. I want this to be just a space that you just feel so welcome and you feel so excited at the end of it and so empowered and encouraged to go and be you and to blaze your trail and to fully just love and use your voice, because it is so powerful and no one can take that away from you. All right, my friend, thank you for tuning in. This is Anastasia Halcomb with the Bold and Unafraid. First podcast done. Whoop, whoop. Faith, I'm done.